Hello and welcome to Marginal Support, where support is anything but marginal. I am your host, Andre Lindy, and this week we're going to do something a little different just because Coach Rios is here and we both have a great love for college sports and sports in general. So we're going to do a bit of a curveball here and we're going to talk about some college football today. So for the tens of listeners out there, if you don't like sports, well,
hey,
I'm
Mom.
sorry. So, Coach, good to see you again.
Man, Andre, thanks for having me. Great to see you. Really excited about today's conversation, man. Love talking sports with you. And thanks for having me on again.
That's my absolute pleasure. I mean, so I remember the first time we met, which was about a year ago, honestly, which is crazy. It was a shorter conversation. We were talking about USC. You had your hat on, I think, and we've always just kind of kept that banter going back and forth. So, just introduce yourself for the people that don't know you, which I think is probably impossible. Give a shout out to everyone.
Yeah, Coach Rios here. Andrew Rios, I guess my government name. Passionate customer experience leader. Plus 25 years doing it. Great career in it. I always say I've been fortunate to be in that career, even though we know what that means in that position. People leader, team builder, and the coach comes from coaching support leaders and teams, right? That mentality, that type of leadership style. And then about 5 years ago, I started my youth sports coaching journey with my older boy. So it just kind of all came together. And based in Southern California, and Trojan fan. Fight on.
There you go. Yeah, but I'm gonna have to do that right there.
I know.
Ducks. So both you and I grew up in a time when college football was a little more sane, I think you could say. You had, I still think, the best conference, the Conference of Champions, the old Pac-10. It was better when it was the Pac-10 before it was the Pac-12, in my opinion. So how did you become a Pac-10 fan?
Oh man, I grew up in Northern California, born in San Francisco, raised in various cities in Northern California around Oakland, and then kind of in Vacaville as a teenager, elementary years. So I fell in love with the Pac-12 by watching TV, right? By watching they were on ABC on Saturday morning, and it was going to be USC, UCLA, and it was Southern California, right? Northern California Cal was up there. And I just loved the whole conference. And then, I'm a Raider fan. And then, started dating my wife many, many years later, who was a Trojan graduate, proud Trojan graduate. And she took me to my first USC game when we first started dating. And the environment just reminded me of an NFL game. And I guess I'll say it. These were the Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush years. So we were on fire. So I just said, fight on, fight on, fight on. But, I always loved just college football in general. And I love those, I guess you call them mid-majors, San Jose State, Fresno State, those Mountain West teams, those Pac-12 teams, because I'm from the West Coast. But then once I got to that first Trojan game, and ironically, it was when Utah, they were expanding the conference, Utah joined the division, and the Utes. So it was a packed stadium. We dominated them, but I just remember that. And from them on out, was lucky enough to be a season ticket holder a couple years, and we try to go at least once or twice a season to a game. So I'm looking at the schedule now to see which one we're able to go to.
So for your boys are they in the fold now? Is one of them a contrarian? It's like, no, I'm gonna be a Bruins fan, or are they both both USC fans?
The family's USC right now, and I think my son, going on 10 years old in 2 days, actually, he starts to think about, if I go to college, maybe I'll go to Michigan or Notre Dame if I don't go to USC. And then we just kind of look at him like, wherever you want to go, son, wherever you want to go. But we definitely are a fight-on family here. Just the Cardinal, the Gold, right down the road at the Coliseum, one of the greatest, college venues out there.
So, I mean, for me, I'm an Oregon fan. Everyone knows that. Grew up an Oregon fan, went to Oregon. So it just runs deep, very deep. I mean, we've had some lean years. We've had some good years. And we have a great coach now, Dan Lanning. The program So, and he's moving the direction. He's moving the program in the direction it needs to go, which I absolutely love.
Yep.
What I'm curious though is good old I'm gonna burn my barbecue Lincoln Riley. He's a big speaker, but he still hasn't got the team over the hump. Do you think that his seat is starting to get a little hot there?
I think it is. I think he's got. We got to make the college football championship playoffs this year. I mean, that's got to happen. We can't be on the outside looking in, and we got a tough schedule ahead of us to do that. But we got to make that. I think this year he surrounded himself with some assistant coaches that can specialize in their areas. Right, Lincoln Riley was a big defensive guy, quarterback guy. I think we got our quarterback. Got a strong draft class. I'm still trying to figure out the offensive line. Now that the spring's getting started, I'm going to start taking a look deeper into the roster because really last year what I saw where we just couldn't, take care of business at the end in those close games was the wear and tear of that Big Ten conference and playing in the fourth quarter. Your defensive backs got to be strong, got to maintain the whole game. And your offensive line, they got to be bullies, right? They got to be bulldogs in those trenches. West Coast football is a little bit different once you get past, Texas on. They're a little bit more physical out there. So credit to the Ducks, because that's what I've seen Landon do the last couple of years, is he's beefed them up while keeping the speed. And it was like, now they're competing, as we saw. So it's going to be an interesting season.
I mean, look at Lanning. Lanning is a disciple of originally Saban and then Kirby Smart. So he has that SEC dog in him. The way I like to see it is that he's bringing that SEC mentality, even though I don't like the SEC. He's bringing that mentality to the team, the way he recruits. He's a bully on the recruiting trail. I mean, and he will snatch up guys. Now, he did lose one good player to SC. I saw that. SC is currently, I think, in the top 3 in the 2027 class. Fair enough. But Oregon's also had a top 3 or top 5 recruiting class in the last 3 years. So I'll take that. I mean, first year in the Big Ten, they won it. They lost to Ohio State, which was horrible. But still, Oregon has made that transition. They're still recruiting at a high level. They got guys coming in and out. So I mean, Riley can recruit, but it just seems like there's always this Lincoln Riley moment where it was at Oklahoma, where they call him Choklahoma. Where he just and when the big games come up. Now, but he's got his guys in place now, right? I feel like Riley, this is probably the first recruiting class where Riley's really starting to get his guys in place. So I think this is the season we'll see if it's Riley's system. I mean, and looking at the schedule, look at this, September 26th.
I saw that.
First game of the Big Ten season, first conference game, and it is at the Coliseum against the Ducks. How you feeling about the game?
That's when that's an eyeball game, right? That's when you kind of dip into the savings and say, you know what, I might pay that markup because it's going to be a packed house. It's probably going to be. So looking at before, we're coming in. Okay, you got Fresno State. That's all a battle for us. Okay, then we got the Raging Cajuns coming in. All right, another one. Then Rutgers. So you got 3. Hopefully, we should be coming in with some momentum, some experience, got some plays dialed in, speed. But then, and those are all, 2 of the 3 are at home. But then you got Oregon. So if Oregon's coming in 3-0, Trojans 3-0, that's probably going to be a primetime game, right? It's probably going to be primetime.
That's going to be game day. That's game day.
Yeah. And so, exactly. So I'm excited about that. And it's going to be a battle. I think even going back to the Conference of Champions, there were not as many blowouts or one-sided victories between Oregon and USC the last 15 years. There's been a couple that we just couldn't, we didn't show up. But for the most part, we battle hard, and usually it's that fourth quarter that decides what happens on a big play somewhere in the middle of the game to turn the tide. So, packed house.
Yeah, looking at our schedule right now, our first game is against Boise State. Oregon always has troubles against Boise State. Hate them, can't stand Boise State. That stupid Smurf turf. And then we go to Stillwater, I think, for Oklahoma State. Then our last tune-up is a home game against Portland State Cupcake. I mean, there you go. And then we go down to the Coliseum. And then right after that, it is the baby Bruins at home. So it's an interesting start to the season. One thing I heard was there was a recruit that really wanted to come to SC, and he wanted, I think, Leinart's jersey number.
Yeah,
But they retired his jersey number, and Leinart said, "No, you're the person that made the decision to retire this. I'm not going to do it." What do you think about that? I mean, I have my opinion, but I want to know your opinion about that.
So I remember reading that, and the first thing I think about is how in the Coliseum you see those jerseys out at the end zone, right underneath the torch. And I remember Leinart, and I had two answers. One was, in today's environment, no, the player's not going to be there more than 1 or 2 years, and then they're going to have a legacy like Leinart did, right? Two, though, if it was 10 years ago pre-NIL, then yeah, if this is a player that's going to come in, change the tide of USC. But no, this player's already getting his millions. I don't think it's about the number, and I kind of back Leinart in that. Also, I coach in his flag football league here in Irvine, so big Leinart supporter. He's the name behind our flag football league here in Orange County. So fight on.
I'm curious for like how many times, like down there, it's SC territory, right? But even when you go outside of LA and you're in Orange County, is it still predominantly more SC fans out there? Is it Bruins fans, or what do you see as the predominant team out there?
This is because it's around the corner, and I see it in the cities I've lived in here in Southern California. There's a big Alabama contingent, a big Florida. Yeah, the Buffalo Wild Wings around the corner here on Saturdays, big Alabama flag. That's their station here. They have one over in Costa Mesa. Florida, right? That chomp chomp. I was surprised by that. It's kind of a melting pot. Those are the two that stand out. And then, you do have the Oregons, the Washingtons, right? My CEO over here at Cityside is a Husky, right? So he's from Washington. So it's kind of a little bit of a melting pot. But it is fight on. It's Trojans. Because remember, for many years, Trojan football was the NFL team, right? I mean, there was no Sunday football down here. I mean, we don't really Chargers. Yeah, that's down there. Now they're here in LA. These kind of still don't exist, but it was them. So they still have that. And now that they're back a little bit, because we've had some down years before the last 2 or 3, we were not really competing, choking at the end. It's still Trojans, but Alabama, Florida, ironically, and I'm always shocked by that. I'm like, really? But when I start to think about it, it's people who grew up here in Orange County or Southern California, their sons or daughters, cousins, whatever, went to Alabama, then graduated, then come back, and then bring that with them. I see them all the time.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I remember when I was living in New York, we saw a lot of that. There was, a lot of people there, but I remember two of the bigger bars. We shared a bar with LSU. So our alumni bar was the LSU bar. When they had a game, we'd go upstairs. But I mean, it was the LSU bar and the Oregon bar, and then right down the street, and this was a great bar. Right down the street at basically a wine club was the Huskies alumni stadium. Like, that seems so appropriate. Just a bunch of pretentious Huskies right there at a wine bar. So
some cheese, charcuterie boards, all that stuff.
Yeah,
that's what's great about college football, right? I think love the pros, of course, but I think that the thing about college football on a Saturday starts early in the morning, like you said, game day, right? I think Saturday, my ritual during college season is, all right, start the day, start watching game day. Where are they at? Who are they talking about? The bets, the bear. And then I get ready for my kids' soccer games, and we have soccer Saturday morning, Coach Rios style. Then we come back, and if there's nothing planned, it really is football Saturday. And we have it on. We're lucky to have a couple TVs here downstairs, and we just either one game here, one game there, and just enjoy it as a family. And I get excited about that time of year. There's that camaraderie. You go to a restaurant with your family on Saturdays, and you see the different families with their colors on, and they might be different. I love always seeing a UCLA, USC house, right? It's like, well, same thing probably for Oregon State, Oregon. It's like, whoa, I mean, how does that work, But there's a camaraderie there that I always enjoy. You can go into any kind of bar or restaurant on a college Saturday, wear your sports colors and team, and people will welcome you in, little banter, but then you're just going to have a great couple of hours. One person more happier than the other.
I think one of the things that's really unique about college sports, it is a strictly American thing, is that I've gone to multiple states in multiple countries, and I'll have my Ducks hat on, and I'll get a Go Ducks, and I mean, you'll probably, if you did see, you'll probably get a fight on. You don't
All the
need
time.
to do that.
Yep.
And you're not going to see that in baseball, maybe NFL, but college football is the only thing that it is international, and it's passionately international, but it's just among that fan base. And it kind of always surprises me. I'm like, bro, I'm in Ireland or I'm in South Korea and I'm getting a Go Ducks. What is going on here?
Well, they have a college game there to kick off the season now, right? Internationally, they've been doing that in Ireland, and I've been to Ireland on a vacation, and I've seen NFL football overseas, which has been great, right? Yet to see a college game overseas, so I kind of want to experience that. It's a global sport. You say the same thing, go blue. Oh, they're talking about Michigan. Like it's just, touchdown Jesus. Oh, that's Notre Dame. Like you just know those things, and yeah.
Roll Tide, yeah.
Roll Tide. Even though you might not, here we go. Oh, it's Gator. One of the things I'd like to do down the road, it's kind of one of those, not down the road, but one of the things I'd really like to do with my family, and, probably my older boy as he gets a little bit older, is start to pick, a road game every season to go to. So we do that with the Raiders in the NFL. But I'd like to start to do that and go, let's go see the Trojans in Bend, right? Let's go see the Trojans in Notre Dame. Let's go see them play Penn State to go see those big, so that my son can see, that environment, how everybody, because we've been to the Coliseum when hundreds of thousands of people are just tailgating and the campus is taking over. LA, looks cardinal and gold. I want to see that. I want to go to Mississippi State. Right, I want to go to Alabama. I want to go to Oregon. Right, I want to go to Azul Stadium. It's on my list. Like, okay, we're gonna do this. So, if not this season, next season we're gonna start picking one of those. Like, you know what? Let's go. Right.
I've only been to. I've only been to Oregon, where else? Cal, and pretty much just Berkeley. And I think that's really, I haven't gotten a chance to go to many road football games, so it's definitely on my list of things to do. One thing that, talking about the good old Pac-10, it's back this year. And it's very interesting. It's basically the Mountain West rebranded.
Yep.
But, they're still going to go with the conference champions. What's your thoughts on the new Pac-10? Because it's an interesting mixture of teams. You have, Washington State and Oregon State. And then there's teams like Fresno. We both probably have to pull it up, but it's a very interesting mixture of teams now.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up here. I think was it San Diego State, not State, but University of San Diego.
State. It's the Aztecs. Yeah.
I'm gonna support them. I'm going to support them because I was a fan of Mountain West football. So I've seen San Jose. I've been, San Jose. I've been to Cal, fun stadium to go to, right? Never been to the Rose Bowl, and it's 50 miles away from me. So that's kind of on my list to do. But I'm going to support them, right? I think it's important to do that. That's all I can say is I'm going to support them. Every team, they're always on Pac-12 After Dark. Right, is what I grew up watching. So they're gonna have to bring that back too, right? So I'm like, okay, yeah, let's get into Pac-12 After Dark. I'm gonna support them, and hopefully they get a team that goes to a bowl game. And I've always liked that kind of football, right? Maction on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, that football, because it's those players are playing at a different. They're great athletes, right? They're still great athletes. They're great players. Some of them are going to have opportunities to continue that career, right? But they're not at Alabama, right? Or at Ohio State, So they play, I don't want to say harder, but there's another adjective that when I watch the games, I'm like, I feel something a little bit different than when I watch a high-powered team, like SC and Oregon go to battle. So,
it's there's just there have been so many times for me where I've been seriously upset or seriously excited with a Pac-12 After Dark game. We've had some of those with Big Ten After Dark, but it's not quite the same. You know, when you had this Friday night game, which I always hated Friday night games because, you know, nothing good was going to happen on Friday night games. It would be like Oregon versus Arizona, and Oregon always had problems when they went to the desert. I mean, but I'm looking forward to those. One team that is making a move that I'm really curious to see how this is going to work out, but North Dakota State, after being the bully and basically running wild in the FCS, is now joining the new Mountain West.
Yep.
So they're going to the Mountain West now. So I'm curious, what's your thoughts on, like, do you think, like, because look at what was it James Madison did.
Yep.
James Madison stepped up,
mm-hmm.
and they made the playoffs last year.
Yep.
I'm curious if North Dakota State's going to, you know, try to make that jump also.
I think so. Let's put what drives that. Let's put it out there. It's revenue. It's money, right? You make more money. It's there. I think it's also good from a competitive landscape purposes. You know, as much as I liked North Carolina State, watching them play in that dome every year, I'd like to see Montana move their way up, or the other North Dakota go in there, South Dakota. You know, and I think the same thing. It reminds me of what Sacramento State football has been doing up north as well, right? And they were even taking a bigger jump because they're a middle tier in their Division II when they were there, but then they made that move up. Now they're kind of in their probationary period of like, oh, here we go, let's get ready to go. I encourage it. I like it. I think that's important. But we know it's driven by revenue as well, right? You get more revenue, you get bigger stadium, get more fans, get more TV eyes. And also, we don't need those teams running conferences for 15 years in a row, right? North Dakota State, so.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you look at that, I mean, they were just basically, it was almost perennial every year, North Dakota State in the championship game.
Yeah, killing teams, right?
Yeah, maybe Montana would sneak in, maybe the Jackrabbits of South Dakota State would sneak in, but it was just kind of boring at one point. So one man who was at Oregon, was at UCLA, was at Ohio State, and even with the Raiders for, I think, a short stint, Chip Kelly, said he said something a couple years ago that I think rang true. He said that the way that we are doing these conference alignments or whatever, it's ruining college football. You know, because look at Cal and Stanford in the ACC. It makes absolutely no sense. What he said was that college football should be its own thing. You just create basically maybe 2 divisions or wherever it is, and then you go back to your regional alignment for everything else. Basketball, especially the small sports, softball, baseball, gymnastics. All these sports don't need to have all this extra travel because they really don't have the budget, right? What would your thoughts be on, like, if football was just basically, I'm not going to say NFL Junior, but it was basically its own thing, and then we let all these other sports go back to these regional rivalries?
It's time. It's going there. I think it's going there. We've been talking about it. We've been hearing about it. And I think they'll be back to football is its own thing at a Division I level, and there's now 400 schools if you kind of bundle them all up together now, FCS, FBS. Then you leave the Division II teams with the rest of the sports out there. Now, the challenge is that you have some basketball schools as well, too. So what happens is college athletics really messed up their own world, driven by finances, right? It's like, well, we're the last teams left. We got to go somewhere. ACC it is. It is like Cal versus Clemson, right? Like, I can't even name more than 5 ACC teams, right? Florida State, Clemson, there you go. Cal. I can say Cal. But I get it. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I hate that the Trojans, like, at least Rutgers comes here. But why do we got to go across country 3 weeks in a row, right? You know, to play Penn State, then Ohio State, then Rutgers. Like, let's stay in our area. But I think it's just going to become, college football will become semi-pro. It'll become a version of professional sports um, sooner than we think.
I mean, yeah, I mean it just makes no sense, right? I mean, you look at like, do I like that Oregon is playing Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State on a regular basis? Yeah, I mean it's great, but I still miss, I mean now we don't play Oregon State, like we're not going to play Oregon State this year.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine SC just saying that we're not going to play UCLA. I mean, it's just weird, right? I mean, so
we're not playing Notre Dame anymore, right? We've
Yeah.
taken that out because we're like, well, and that was it was depending on who you asked. One school needed the other school didn't need you, right? And Notre Dame was like, well, we don't, we risk ourselves playing USC. We're already playing the Big Ten schedule. Why do we have to? So yeah, it's a challenge, but I'm going to miss that game, right? So.
I mean, that is one of those. I mean, it's tradition, and I think what we're losing in this quest for money and this quest for NIL is tradition. I mean, I'm kind of sounding like an old guy right now, but I mean, give me back my your 2 cupcake matches probably in the beginning of the season, but then it's just the gauntlet. It's the gauntlet of can you beat everyone else in your conference?
Yep.
And I think those days are gone. I mean, and yeah, you had a conference championship. I mean, but are conference championships even worth it these days when you've seen so many times now that the playoff committee basically ignores a team, what happened to Florida State? They won their conference, they're undefeated, and they still get left out of the playoffs. So, I mean,
yeah. And that's what we're dealing with now, right? That's what we're dealing with now. That's why they're going to add more teams, right? Now they're going to add 2 more. So if we eliminate that and then talk about the next 2. So.
No, it makes no sense. I mean, I think for me, what definitely hurts for me in terms of the love for college football is that you no longer have these players who come to a school because they want to be at that school. They come to the school for the paycheck. Mm-hmm. I mean, and you saw that with head coaches. Their head coaches were basically mercenaries, but then kids were stuck there when their head coach leaves. So I understand that was not good for the players, but now, one school says, "Hey, I'm going to give you $5 million," another school says, "I'm going to give you $10 million," and then the kid's like, NFL's not paying me. I'll just stick around and go to another school. I mean, so do you think that NIL has to be reined in a little? Because I mean, the transfer portal, yeah, I kind of understand that, but the transfer portal and NIL are created, so it's almost like the one and dones in college basketball.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They're going to have to put more governing rules around it, right? They will, and it'll happen next year or the year after. They have to make it fair. I think also that's not so much to make it fair. I think people just got to get bigger on the collectives, right? But the smaller schools are going to be tougher there, so I think maybe there's an opportunity for some of the smaller schools to pool, right, within their conference to compete a little bit more. So I think there's going to be more opportunities for people to get creative and schools to get creative on how they get that revenue in order to pay for the NIL through whatever collective they may have. But there'll also be some rules, some cap on it. What do we call it in the NFL?
Salary cap.
Your salary cap. Yeah, salary cap. So that's going to come, right? And I think it'll be different for the different tier schools, right? Which then will go open up the conversation again. Well, we're going to have to split it, right? There's this, so.
I mean, to bring in a basketball analogy here, I mean, it almost seems like they're going to have your schools that are going to the big dance, and March Madness and what it is. But then you still have the NIT. So it almost seems like you're going to have your certain group of schools that are always go to the college football championship. But then for all the schools that never have a legitimate chance to make the playoffs, why don't you create an NIT style tournament for them so they basically can have their own national championship?
Bowl games. I think what's going to happen is what they did with the bowl games. The big 4 bowl games, right? The Rose Bowl, Peach Bowl, all that's an Orange Bowl. They're going to take the bowl games and make that a tournament now. The rest of them. So there's the ones they made. Okay, here's your quarters. Here's your semis. Okay, now I think now they're going to take those other bowls, the Bahama Bowl, the San Diego Bowl, whatever it might be, the Montana Bowl, and turn that into a tournament. But to kind of keep the sports theme and go back to what you said in March Madness, the last couple of seasons, teams have had a choice who didn't make the big tournament, the big dance, right? You get invited to the NIT, and for some, they say, no, we're too good for that. We're not going to go. Or some teams were invited to go play in another tournament that paid them out $100,000 and then $300,000. So you got a chance to win $500,000 as a team to win that tournament. So some of the teams that said no to the NIT said, but we'll go play in that tournament. And it was in Vegas, sponsored by a casino, of course. But I watched that tournament more than I watched the NIT games. So I think what's going to happen is you're going to see more of that where, and then the teams stuck together. It was like Oklahoma State and like Nebraska, two other teams that didn't. And they talked the story about, hey, the winner of this tournament last season actually used it to propel themselves into the March Madness tournament this season rather than play the NIT, which is, again, back to money. You don't win any money. You get a little banner. Look, you won the second place tournament. Over there, you won $500,000. So it's like...
No, I mean, it's going back to finance. Speaking about, teams opting out, what do you think about players that then, if they don't get into the playoffs, they opt out of a bowl game? And I kind of understand that. I mean, now it's a financial decision for these players that they have a chance to go and make, life-changing money, generational money, right? But then, I can understand that. But then you look at when teams don't make the playoffs they want, it almost seems like teams phone in the bowl game. Like they seem disinterested. Yeah. I mean, so what's your thoughts on, when basically teams just don't show up? Do you think that's a coaching problem there then? Or do you think that's they're just like, whatever?
I think they're making the best decision for them and their family and their future. And I don't knock them for that either way. Because depending on where I was at, right? If I knew that was my last college game and my last game, then I'd be playing it. Like, I'm going to bring it home strong. But if I knew I have the ability and I'm going to go on and play at the next level and I don't want to hurt myself or my stock or drop, then I wouldn't do it. I mean, that's a personal decision, and I support them in that,
No, I definitely agree. I mean, it's funny. We are almost all the way into this conversation. We really haven't touched on support at all, which I am totally all for.
Well, I was going to say this, Andre. I think maybe we have a two-parter right here. I think we have a two-parter here, because I got to bring the plane home for a 9:00 work meeting to think about leadership, to talk about actually technology with the team. So maybe we have a two-parter where we come back, continue the conversation, and then spin back in the support-driven summit that just occurred in LA, upcoming conferences people might want to go to, things like that. What do you think, man?
I think that's a good idea because, this has been a little bit out of the ordinary for me. We've talked about college sports this whole time, which I'm not going to say no to this. I mean, it's great. It's been a little different from the normal shows, but let's do that, Coach. We had a good show, and I'm not even going to end this with my normal saying because this was, all about college sports. So instead of saying, I'm just going to say, Coach, go Ducks to you.
Fight on. Fight on to victory. And I say that too, to all those support leaders and support folks. Fight on. Keep fighting on. Go Ducks.
All right, Coach. Well, it was have a good one. Have a great day with your meeting, and we'll talk later.
Be well. Do good. Thanks for having me on. Talk soon.
Bye.